So Timmy wants to be a Roblox developer, and instead of opening Roblox Studio, he searches how to become a Roblox dev. And he just searches for hours just to find an easy way to become a Roblox developer. He tries and tries and tries, but it's just not enough for him. Why can't I get this? He says, and he rage quits. He just decides to give up on his dream of becoming a Roblox dev and going back to playing Pet Simulator X.
Wait, Timmy, what are you doing?
The light at the end of the tunnel arrives. Lord Regulus, the pro developer who climbed to the top of the front page in blazing speed with 15 games that hit the front page and hundreds of millions of visits and Robux made. He can teach Timmy, right?
Timmy, just open up Studio and start messing around. You'll start to get it with enough work.
Okay.
So under Lord Regulus's guidance, Timmy goes ahead and tries it. He opens up Studio and starts messing around, placing parts and trying to make the games of his wildest dreams. And with enough time and dedication, he begins to move parts at the speed of light. He makes the game of his dreams and starts to see it all come together. Hold up. This is not gonna happen that easy, but at least it's somewhat relatable. This guide right here is gonna show you exactly how to use Roblox Studio from start to finish, exactly down to the last detail. This is the best guide you're gonna see on it. I started just like you with zero experience, and now you are lucky to get this very video I wish I had when I got started. It would have been way easier and I would have learned way faster, saving me days or weeks, maybe even months of time. So let's get started. First, we need to download Roblox Studio, of course. Now this is pretty easy, obviously. If you've downloaded Roblox on your computer, you should already have Studio, and all we need to do is search for it. So if you're on Mac, you can click the search button on the top right of your menu bar at the top of your screen, or if you're on Windows like me, go ahead and click the search button down here, and you can go ahead and click, and you can type in Roblox Studio. It should show up, and if it doesn't, you can go ahead to roblox.com/create, and there will be a download link there. I'll also link it in the description for you to go ahead and head over there. One of the first links in the description. Cool. Now let's let Roblox Studio load up and let's get into it. So we want to make our first game. Roblox Studio has a few different sections where you can make a game and edit all the games you've made in the past, and these sections of Roblox Studio are on the left-hand side. You can go ahead and see there is a new project button, there's a My Games button, there's a recent button, and there's an archive button. Now, the most important one when we get started is new, because this has all of our templates where we can choose different templates to get us started with. And really, you only need to worry about these first three. The other ones are not that great, to be honest. And you can go ahead and see your games here and all your group games. And then recent will show you recent projects you've opened on the computer that you're using. So let's just start with a base plate, a basic new base plate right here, not classic base plate. Let's just use the normal one. And there we go. You've made your first Roblox game. Congrats. You can close this video now. Wait, no, never mind. Keep watching. Made your first quote-unquote game, but there's a lot more to understand to get started in Roblox Studio, so let's go. The UI of Roblox Studio. So the first thing we're gonna look at is the UI or user interface of Roblox Studio, which includes all of the buttons, panels, and menus in Roblox Studio. Now, I'm not trying to overwhelm you with a bunch of stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you the main panels, and we'll get into everything else later. First is the top bar of Roblox Studio. This is where we're gonna get started. So, first one in the top left is File, and this has what you'd expect from your average program. So, as you can see, we can see our recent games we've edited. You can see new, you can see open from file, open from Roblox, close place, etc. Now, you can save to a file, which will save as a Roblox place file, which will allow you to access your place on the computer, or send that place to somebody else as a file so they can edit that instance of the place. But don't worry about that. The main one you need to worry about is publish to Roblox. Publish to Roblox allows you to put it on the website, public, so that it can be played by everyone, of course, if you set it to public. And save to Roblox saves it, but it does not make the changes public. So I can go ahead and publish, and that's gonna be seen by everyone. Below this menu bar, below this top menu bar up here, we have a selection of items, which are very important to the use of Roblox Studio, and especially to building. So to go ahead and move around in Roblox Studio, we can right-click to go ahead and look around in Roblox Studio, we can look around in what we call the viewport, which is in the middle of the screen, lets us see everything inside the game. And we can use the A, W, SD keys, just like a game, to go ahead and move back and forth. But there's an additional 2 keys which you can use to move around, which is the Q and the E keys. Q will move down and E will move up. Now, you can right click, look around, but there's one last thing. You can scroll to go ahead and go really fast and move around faster. Zoom, if you will. So yeah, the first button that we should take a look at is the part button. The part button will go ahead and place a part in our game if we click it. And as you can see, it has a drop down here, which allows us to see block, sphere, wedge, corner wedge, cylinder. So we can choose different shape parts to use in our game. Now, of course, the main one you're going to be using is a normal block. So now that we've placed this, we can actually drag this around and we can choose where we want to place it. Now, you might notice that mine is moving really smoothly. And one really important thing is the increment. So you can actually change the increment that this moves at. And this brings us to these different tabs here, which include Home, Model, Avatar, Test, View, and Plugins. View has all of the different things in Roblox Studio, and we can show them and hide them. Test has the play button, start button, and several other options for you to test. Avatar has avatar options for animating and designing avatars. And Model has most of the features that we need for building. It has a little bit more than Home, but Home has all the main ones. But if we go to Model, it actually has this thing called Snap to Grid. Now, Snap to Grid is actually going to allow us to go ahead and change the increment that we move and scale parts at. So if we change this to be checked off, I'm not sure, most of the time yours should already be checked and it should say 1 stud by default and 45 degrees as your rotate. Now, this is horrible, by the way. 45 degrees is bad for rotation. As you can see, it rotates really stiffly. We don't want this, and so I usually have mine at 15, and then I leave my move at either 0.1, 0.25, or 0.5, and then sometimes I turn it off when I'm moving around bushes and stuff. But a really good one to start with is probably 0.5 or even 1 stud, because 1 stud is good, and one method you could do is you can start building with 1 stud, and then later, you can go ahead and switch to smaller ones as you get more into the deep details of your build. Now, you'll notice that on both the Home tab and the Model tab, there is a Select, Move, Scale, and Rotate tool. And these are very self-explanatory. Select is very useful when you just want to drag stuff and, you know, move things around without worrying about moving it with any other type of dragger. And having these in the way, you can just drag it, select it, deselect it. Now, Move is for more exact movements. So you can, of course, always move your part by just dragging it, but you're gonna notice pretty quickly that building things well using that dragging feature is gonna be horrible. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and use the move tools for more exact movements. So we can go ahead and drag, and we can move it up and down, left to right, and that type of thing. And by the way, this moves on the Y axis, this moves on the X axis, and this moves on the Z axis. And these represent different positions inside of the game world. Now, we'll get into that more later, but it's good to know X, Y, and Z, especially if you're gonna go into scripting later, and especially if you wanna be an advanced builder. Now, back to the UI. Around the rest of the screen, we have several different panels, and by default, you have the toolbox, or you should have the toolbox, the properties window, which is right here, and usually I believe that it is right here, actually. And we also have the output window, and this will spit out different things from your code, but we don't really have to worry about this right now, so let's close it out. Now, if you do not see any one of these menus, you can go ahead up here to View, and we can select Explorer, and you'll see it disappears and appears. And there is a chance that it might be stacking up with other windows and glitching out. In that case, you can click it a ton of times until you see it on your screen. or you can close out Windows until you see it. So I can go ahead and close out Tool Grip Editor and all this stuff, and then I'll be able to cycle through these easier. So let's go ahead and look at each individual one of these main panels. So Toolbox, you can get your models that you've made in the past in the inventory section, or in this one, it lets you see the models you've made. And this one shows you recent models you've used. This one, it's your models. These are very similar tabs, except this one allows you to see group models too. Now this one is the interesting one. You've heard about free models, right? And if you're really new to development, you probably don't necessarily even know how to get them, but you can go ahead and get free models from this. You can get all kinds of different models that people have made. Now, most of these are not the best quality, and a lot of them, if you use all free models, as you've probably seen, all free model games, nothing matches up. It's horrible to use all free models unless you're very careful with it, which it does take some time and practice honing your own building skills to know how to match together different free models. But with that in mind, they're okay to look at and learn from, but I would not recommend making entire games with them. You can practice with it. You can practice dragging stuff in, practice handling models with these. It's very good. But we don't want you sitting around throwing free models in Studio. That's not going to do anybody any good. And that's how I started. But look, that's not how we want to start if we're trying to learn this quickly and trying to skip all the randomness. So next up, Explorer. Now the Explorer window is very crucial, so pay attention. It is very much so one of the most important windows in Roblox Studio. So you need to see this. So each one of these inside of the Explorer window is called a service. A service is a different piece of the Roblox engine that does a different function, and it allows us to go ahead and do different things inside our game and contain different aspects of our game. So the most important one and the main one that we'll be using is called Workspace. Everything that exists visibly in your game that is an object, not the lighting, we'll get into that later, but that's also visible. Everything that is in Workspace is all that you can see in the game, aside from lighting. Don't worry about that yet. But everything you can see in the game is in Workspace. So this right here, this is in Workspace. As you can see, if we select it, we'll see it right here. This is a spawn location. Now, base plate. This is our base plate. It's in Workspace. If we hit the delete key, it's gone. And it's also gone from the Explorer. So I'm gonna go ahead and click Control Z or Command Z on Mac to undo that. And by the way, to redo, it is Control Shift Z or Command Shift Z on Mac. Now, lighting is the other one you can see, and you can change different aspects of how the game's lighting looks. So for example, we can raise our brightness, do a bunch of cool stuff. There's a bunch of different properties in lighting which allow you to change how the game looks, and you can go ahead and see how to use all of these in the video in the right hand corner. You can go ahead and pop that open in a new tab and watch that after this so you can learn lighting if you would like, because it is a very interesting and fun thing to do. So you can actually make quite a bit of Robux easily by making lighting, because in my opinion, lighting, if you have an eye for it, is really easy to go ahead and start making Robux from, because it's like one of the easiest things to make in Roblox Studio. So just a note there for any of you who want to learn a skill that can make you Robux fast. Lighting, do it. Next up, the basics of building. So in this section of the video, we are going to look at the basics of building, and I'm going to show you how to build. Now that we're out of the way of the boring UI, we're into building. So if we go ahead and choose select by clicking on it, if it's not already chosen. So if it's dark gray like mine, that means that it's selected. If it's not dark gray, then it's not selected. Then we can hover our cursor over a part and drag it wherever we want. So we already went over this, but now let's look at the scale tool. So the scale tool, very similar in how it works to the move tool, except you grab one of these draggers and you can go ahead and move it and see it stretch into the sky. All right, so now we're gonna turn this part into a wall. We're gonna build a wall. So you can scale your part up and you can say, you know, I wanna make this a huge wall and I want to stretch it over the whole base plate. All right, so we've built our wall. So now what we need to do, we need to look at the different ways you can scale parts. So we've scaled this wall out, right? We've scaled out really long on both sides, but there are a few different ways that you can scale parts, which are going to be really useful in building. One way is by holding Control and dragging one of these, and you can go ahead and stretch it out on both sides. And you can hold Shift to stretch it out on all sides in one direction. If we hit Control Z, we can go ahead and undo that. And if you go ahead and click Control, Shift, click, you can go ahead and stretch it out evenly from the middle or the origin point here, and you can stretch it out in all directions that way. Now, more keybinds. You can go ahead and click Control R, and you can go ahead and turn it 90 degrees. Now you can click Control T, and this will turn it vertically 90 degrees. Interesting, right? Control T though is a little bit weird though. All right. Now, let's go ahead and delete this. Now we're going to look at some more keybinds of building, and let's start actually building a basic building. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new part in the model tab. I'm going to click the part button, and now we're going to hold Control, scale that down. Then I'm going to stretch this out. Let's make it a good length. Go ahead and make this taller. We'll go ahead and click Control D to duplicate this part. And we're going to stretch it all the way down here, stretch it out to the length of wall we want. Move this out one stud, and you don't want anything overlapping while you're building. This is really important because if you have stuff overlapping, let me show you. So let's go ahead and select the part, go to our properties panel, and change the brick color to teal. Now, if I stretch this over this, you'll see that it starts flickering. This is called Z-fighting, and Z-fighting is a horrible looking glitch. So, you know, this is normal, and it's gonna happen on accident, but we want to avoid this as much as possible. So that's partly why I'm doing that, to make sure we don't have any Z-fighting. I know that we aren't recoloring this. We're gonna leave it as medium stone gray, but it's good to keep in mind. Also, while we're on colors, there is a custom color property, which I recommend using as much as possible, because these are not really enough, especially as you get more advanced in your builds. Now, let's go ahead and click on this and hold Shift, and we can go ahead and have both of these selected at once. Then I'm gonna click Control D to duplicate. Then I'm gonna click Control R twice. And now we have this on both sides. Now let's go ahead and add a roof. But with the roof, let's use a different kind of part. So let's click this, let's add a wedge, and then we're gonna click Control R, drag this up here, and then we're gonna go ahead and stretch this out. Now, one thing I wanna do is I wanna select this wall and check the size. So it's 36. If your wall is uneven sized, you might wanna change it to something that's even, but 36 divided by 2 is 18. So if we go ahead and make this 18 studs wide, we can go ahead and make that good. And then if we click Control D, Control R twice, we can go ahead and drag this back here, and there we go. So now we have our basic shape of a house or a building. So if we go ahead and click this and hold Shift and click on this, let's go ahead and recolor this. Let's make this white. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose a nice kind of quill. I think quill gray looks good. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add a block, all right? Then I'm gonna drag this up here and stretch it out to the same size as the top of our roof. Maybe change this down to 0.25, see if that... Now we're having a little bit of an alignment issue here. Not exactly sure why this is happening. Let's see the size. This might be fixed by changing the height of this. If we had it at more of an even angle, I believe it would be better, but it doesn't really matter for now. So I'm gonna change the brick color to a nice brown, so we have our roof. Go ahead and click Control D, and then hit Control R twice, and then now we run into a predicament, right? So this is very important in building, and I feel like a lot of people don't even know this, but if you go ahead and see these draggers, they're lined up with the part, right? This is called local space, and local space is basically the position of the part. The move tool is being based on the position of the part, the rotation of the part. It's using its own space to go ahead and calculate how it's gonna move. But obviously this isn't really gonna work too well if we're trying to move it over there, unless we did this, but it's gonna be hard to line up. So what we can do is we can go ahead and right click and click use world space, and we can change that to world space. So now it's based off the whole world. It's based off the world rather than the part. So it's going to say the same direction as what we'd expect. And now we can go ahead and move this in place with no problem. And there we go. Another issue. It's not lining up. What? Okay, this is weird. Now, we could do the simple fix, which is just to drag this. But I do recommend the plugin, which is called Resize Align. I'll go ahead and link it below for you. It's really useful and it allows you to resize stuff and align edges. So you can go ahead and go to your plugins tab after you download it. And you can usually just get it in plugins actually on the toolbox. So if you go to plugins, search up Resize Align. We can go ahead and get that Stravent Resize Align and use that. So Geom tools, we'll open that up if you have multiple by this guy. I recommend all of these, by the way, but Resize Align. Now we can go ahead and click on this, and click on that, and line those two edges up. And now it's good. No problems there anymore. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this. Actually, let's not do that yet. I'm going to box select, click from this corner, drag, select all of these. I'm going to make the walls a nice red. But then I'm going to go in here, change this to be a darker red, and we'll call that good right there. And now I kind of want to extend these walls out. Just to give it some depth, you know? Let's just do that on one side. Let's just do that on this side. Just a little bit. There we go. Not the greatest, but very good for starters. Now, let's go ahead and look at how we can make windows and doors and that kind of thing inside of your building. So, one way you can do this is by simply hitting Control D on this part, holding Control, and then now we have a center, right? We have a center part, and we can say, that's our center, and then we can just go ahead and resize this down, and I'm gonna go back to 0.5. I'm gonna use Resize Align real quick. And yeah, so, okay, go back down to 0.5, and now that we have a center, we can go ahead and go off of this. I'm gonna align these with Resize Align, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna do one stud. Okay, so that was 2.5 studs. All right, drag that. Now I'm gonna hit Control D to duplicate that, and I'm gonna go ahead and move that over here. And there we go. So that is how you can get a centered up hole or window. Now we can just go ahead and duplicate this. Boom. You can grab Resize Align, resize those. Control D that, scale it down, and there you go. You pretty much get the gist. And go ahead and duplicate this. We can go ahead and make some window sills. Let's go ahead and go back down to 20.25. Man, so this is one issue with building Studio and why I recommend learning Blender, because it can be really annoying to be doing all of these scaling and measurement, etc. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that. Why is this not looking centered? All right, so I went ahead and added some stuff to my window. Now we can go ahead and duplicate a part in here, hit Control D. We can go ahead and hold Control, scale that up. Let's uncheck the move, make that thinner, turn it to blue. And then we can go in properties and we can go ahead and increase the transparency and also the reflectance to get a nice look for a window. We can change the material to smooth plastic, and we can go ahead and have a pretty nice looking window. So pretty good. Not the greatest, but we're gonna improve with time as you build and get better at it. Now, I could do a much better window than this, but I'm not gonna worry about it for now because we're just looking at the basics. Now, another way is with what we call unions. So unions in Studio is another feature involved with building, and this lets you cut parts out of other parts and glue parts together and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of unions, but for simple things, I believe they're very useful sometimes and even necessary. So you might run into problems in builds and you need to, you know, cover up a gap or fill something or do something really quick. That is when I personally think unions are the best, and otherwise you should probably use Blender for it. But unions can also be used for things like windows. So you can hit Control D, hold control, and we can go ahead and just scale this down. We can right click and we can click negate to go ahead and turn this into a negated part, which will let us cut it out of another part. But we can also hit Control Shift N or Command Shift N on Mac to go ahead and make this negated. Now you'll see it's like red, transparent. Now if you hold Shift and click on another part, we can right click and hit Union, or as you can see, the keybind is Control Shift G. So if you hit Control Shift G, we can go ahead and union that together. So now we have a union. Now, one issue with unions is as you make more complex ones, Roblox gets really bad at rendering these, and they kind of are bad for your game's performance. So you want to avoid using unions too much. One other issue, we won't be able to go through this usually, because now this is basically a mesh, and a mesh is one object rather than a bunch of parts. So it doesn't know exactly how to calculate this so that you can go through this hole. But there is a fix to keep in mind. So if we select this, we can go ahead and go down in our properties and change the collision fidelity to precise convex deposition, and we'll be able to go ahead and jump through this, of course, if the space allows. This is just an example. But yeah, that gives you an idea of the basics of building. Now we're gonna go ahead and look at some more stuff in Studio, such as how to publish and save our game. We're gonna go ahead and look at how to publish your game. So if we go ahead and click Publish to Roblox, we can publish this game, but I'm gonna click Publish to Roblox As, just so that I can make a copy for an example for you guys. So I'm gonna hit Publish to Roblox As, and we're gonna make a new game. And now you'll see here that we can name it, and we can name it whatever we want. So we can name our game blah 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 test, I don't know, and then we can do whatever. We can create, we can choose the creator, we can choose the group we want it to be in, or you can have it created by yourself. You can create the genre, which helps Roblox categorize your game a little bit, and you can choose which devices it can be played on. I recommend checking off console. And team create. Team create lets you have people work with you in Studio on your project, just like it was a game on Roblox, like you're playing together, except you're all in Studio building at the same time, which is a really great, insanely useful feature that I use all the time with friends and development partners. So yeah, really useful. Now, once you're done setting this up, you can hit create and it'll publish it on Roblox. So some more about this Studio UI. Now, we can go ahead and look at file, and we can see that we have several things. And the first one I want to show you is advanced. Now, advanced actually has something which is called customize shortcuts. Now, you might have been wondering earlier, how was I possibly opening up Resize Align so fast? Well, I have a custom shortcut for Resize Align. So you can set shortcuts, you can change the default ones to whatever you want so that you can go ahead and use stuff in Studio way faster. So let's go ahead and click Customize Shortcuts, and we can go ahead and find Resize Align, for example, and we can go ahead and click on the shortcut box by double clicking it. Then we can click R or whatever you want. I use R for mine, and you'll go ahead and have a shortcut for Resize Align or whatever you're setting a shortcut for. So it's really useful, and I really recommend doing this, but be careful when you're doing this. Don't accidentally reset something like really useful. You're gonna mess some stuff up. So I'm gonna hit OK. And then another thing is beta features. So beta features allows you to see some of the new features in Studio that they're adding, and it allows you to get these new things in Studio early. So one thing I want you to make sure you have enabled is Material Generator. Now, Material Generator is a new thing made by Roblox, which lets you make AI materials. Really, they're really awesome. So let's click, make sure that's checked off, and we'll go ahead and hit save. Now, in the home tab, you should see it here. I'm not seeing it for some reason, so I'm gonna go ahead and reopen my place. All right, now you should see it right here, Material Generator, and you might have to reopen Roblox Studio like I did to see it because it's a new feature. But with this, you can go ahead and generate materials for your game. So rather than using the default ones like, oh, leafy grass, mud, all this stuff, now instead of having to import your own or make some, you can just have AI make it. So we'll go ahead and set this back to smooth plastic. And now if we go ahead to the material generator, we can go ahead and type in, let's say, what is it called? Siding. Yeah, it's called siding. There we go. Then you can go ahead and hit enter or click generate, and boom, it's gonna spit out some textures for us. And these will be instantly able to be applied. So wow, actually these are really good. So let's go ahead and try this one here. And you can go ahead and scale it down, change the studs per tile. You can make it organic to make it kind of randomized. Looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and see some other one. So this one, I like this one. It looks more cartoony, but it always does add the PBR. You can always take that off though. Hard choices, huh? I think I'm gonna choose this one. I think this one's the best. So, and we'll go ahead and choose the base material. I'm gonna make that wood planks. And I'm gonna click save and apply variant. You can change the studs per tile to change the size. And now we can go ahead and select all our parts and close this out. And we can go ahead and go into, we can hold shift to select those, by the way. We can go into material variant and change that to red house siding material. And there we go. So you might see we're gonna have some Z fighting. Things aren't gonna line up fully, but that's an easy fix, as we mentioned earlier. Although tedious, it's pretty easy. We can move these, scale them to change how that looks. We might need to do this, you know, pretty easy stuff. I'm gonna use resize align. Now that we have a keybind, we can click R and go ahead and do that. Go ahead and scale that. Good enough for now. Now I'm gonna make a roof material just for fun. Roofing, horizontal, black. And let's see what it spits out for us. I kind of like that, but I'm gonna ask for a more cartoony one. So let's see what it does. Interesting, huh? Interesting. Wow, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna use this one. And let's try organic. All right, cool. Okay, now there is another plugin by the same person who made this. It's called Material Flip, and this will allow us to flip the materials. You can get this in Toolbox by searching it up. And there we go. So now it is the right way. And I think I'm gonna extend the roof out one. Pretty nice with those materials. So those are a lifesaver, especially for new builders. Really, really insane. So you're gonna be able to make some really unique stuff with that. But if you right click this and you click insert object, there are a ton of different objects you can mess with. And I recommend trying out textures, which allow you to make a tiling image of your own, and decals, which allow you to add an image. So we can go ahead and insert a texture in here and do whatever we want with that. But for now, you've mastered most of the basics of building in Roblox Studio, and you're ready to take your skills to the next level. So now let's look at some more advanced building techniques. So first up, grouping and ungrouping. So we've looked at unions, and unions let us combine parts, but this is a lot different. This just lets you make different groups. So if we go ahead and click up here and drag and box select our house and hit Control G, we can make a group. Now, this is one combined group. You'll see it's a model in Workspace. We can right click this and rename it, of course, and name it House 1. And by the way, when you're naming, I recommend not doing any spaces, so it's easier for when a scripter goes ahead and works with it. Now, we can go ahead and drag this around as one thing, and this might happen. That happens with models, but that is fine. If we go ahead and click this and change the primary part to something in here, it'll fix that issue for us. So yeah, grouping's pretty awesome. We can also group as a folder. A folder does not let you do this, but it's much better for organization purposes. So you can right click and click group as a folder, or you click Control Alt G to go ahead and make it a folder. Next up, the terrain editor. The terrain editor is a very useful tool, and it allows you to make some very awesome things in Studio. If we go to view, we can go ahead and find the terrain editor, and it should be up in here somewhere. Yeah, right here. So this is the terrain editor. You can just click that so you see it on your screen. And we can go ahead and click the edit button to go ahead and see our main terrain tools. So terrain. Now we can go ahead and add terrain, right? We can add it. Adding terrain's all right, but it's not the greatest tool aside from when you're just getting started. My favorite way to get the baseline layer of terrain is to go ahead and get a plugin called Part 2 Terrain. And what this does is it goes ahead and lets us make any part into terrain. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose grass and click on the base plate. Now again, you can find this plugin by going to Toolbox and going to Plugins and searching for Part 2 Terrain. You go ahead and get that plugin. Now you might notice that this goes ahead and makes everything a little bit sunken in. That's fine. We can just drag it and do that. or you can go ahead and move your base plate down before you change it into terrain. But yeah, now the tools. So we did look at add. Now add, as I said, I don't really like the add tool. I believe the grow tool's better in most cases, but you can go ahead and change the different properties of this, so like the size, the pivot position. Let's just change like where it goes based on your mouse cursor, the plane lock, and you can change the material, of course. And you can go ahead and change what material each one of these is with material service. So you can see in material service, we can go ahead and choose one of our material variants that we already made for cracked lava. So we can scroll down to cracked lava and okay, wait. We need a material variant for cracked lava. So let's make a replacement one. So I'm going to add a part, and we can go ahead and go to the material generator, and let's make something new to replace cracked lava, because there's not many times when you need cracked lava. So let's see, what do we make? Let's add a nice rocky texture, and let's see what this makes. Ooh, that's actually pretty fire. All right, I like that. Kind of. It's a little bit weird though. Let's just run with this one, and let's go ahead and let the base material be cracked lava. Make the pattern to organic. Oh yeah, that's better. Save and apply that, and boom, now we have that material variant in here, which you can go ahead and go back to material servers, change cracked lava's default variant to big rock material, and we got ourselves that. Now it's red. How do we fix that? Well, we can go to terrain, go to material colors, and change that back to gray. And there we go. So we're good now. Now let's go back to the tools. I went on a tangent there, but we're gonna go ahead and subtract this. So we can choose the subtract tool, size that up, and we can go ahead and start subtracting some of our terrain. Just, you know, make sure we have plane lock on and just delete that. So next up, grow tool. So you'll see we have this messy look here. Actually, we're gonna fix it. So I'm gonna change the base size to bigger, and we're just gonna scale all this terrain up. We're gonna make some hills. Hills are nice. Make some nice area in here. Now let's make some really big hills. And on the sides of these big hills is where we're gonna use our material that we made, because on the sides of hills, we start getting this brown material, and it doesn't look that good, in my opinion. So we can fix that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and paint. So the paint tool is very useful. You can click the paint tool, size that down, and we'll go ahead and grab the cracked lava, and ooh, yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Although I want this texture to be bigger. So I'm gonna turn off, by the way, I'm gonna turn off plane lock, because paint tool is horrible with plane lock. But I'm gonna go back to our material service. I'm gonna click on our big rock material, and I'm gonna change the studs per tile to be a lot bigger, and try out regular. Does regular look better? I'm not really sure. Oh, we can type in a number for this. 100? That looks weird. This is an interesting texture to work with, but I think we're just gonna run with it. We can paint some more on here. I'm gonna change it to mud on here. Paint some mud. You know, mix it up. Mix it up. Choose some leafy grass. Now, leafy grass solves this issue. See this? It's all poking through. Well, easy fix for leafy grass. Size that base size up, and it'll help us fix that. And then we can add, like, some pavement or something. Pretty cool stuff. This is all great, but what about scripting? I know that a lot of you guys might want to be able to script on Roblox, and maybe you don't even want to be a builder. Well, it's good that you went ahead and learned this. So congratulate yourself for that. You did a great job today learning this if you followed along. I do have a special thing for you. This is called the Scripting Secrets course, and it's a full course for scripting, and it includes everything that every other course does not include. There's no better place to learn scripting on the entire internet. It has everything from the basics of Lua down to the advanced game mechanics, and also exactly how to make your game a success. I've worked with the Roblox coach to bring you this new course. I'm gonna link that below for you, but you can go ahead and click the video on screen to watch the beginner guide to Roblox scripting. It's gonna get you started. Very good place to start, but I do recommend clicking the link in the description for the Scripting Secrets course for the best possible place to learn. Thank you for watching. See you at the scripting guide, and make sure to subscribe and have notifications on so you don't miss a new video.